Hey everyone, Nolan Alders here. Welcome back to the channel. Check out this clip from Watters Primetime. I'm telling you guys, this story is wild.
Fox News alert, the Biden White House is under investigation. And Trump's got a new nickname for the big guy. He's now called the AutoPen. Bondi and her team are investigating whether Biden was competent and whether others were taking advantage of him. Did the AutoPen know what it was signing? The AutoPen signed 8,000 pardons. But did Joe know? Was the pen going behind Joe's back and letting Hunter sign with it? Did Dr. Jill use the pen? Did donors? We're not sure. But we're finally going to get answers.
When you look at these last-minute Biden pardons, the big ones, Biden siblings, Fauci, January 6th committee.
That's right.
Most of the big ones have the same very neat signature. We would expect that probably to be the AutoPen. Is this White House of the opinion that the only pardon that would count is one that the president signed himself?
The president is making a good point when he discusses the usage of the AutoPen. Who was running the country for the past 4 years? Perhaps those documents were signed with the AutoPen. As you saw, Ed Martin made an announcement at the Department of Justice this morning to launch an investigation because the American people deserve answers.
Donald Trump had his hand an inch from the Bible, about to be sworn in a second time. And the AutoPen was on a pardon bender. The Heritage Foundation did their own investigation. Quote, "We gathered every document we could find with Biden's signature over the course of his presidency. All used the same AutoPen signature, except for the announcement that the former president was dropping out of the race last year." Then they did a side-by-side. These are the signatures from Biden's final day. Pardons for the family, the J6 committee, Fauci, Milley, all neatly signed, identical.
That's crazy.
This 82-year-old's penmanship never wavered, not even a smidge. But this goes back decades. The AutoPen was first used regularly by President Truman. He used it for simple stuff like thank you notes, nothing serious. Obama changed that. Barry had a portable AutoPen that he used in Europe to sign major legislation. First time a machine ever signed an actual bill. The pen was the best kept secret in the Oval. It lives in the White House, typically in the Office of Presidential Records. How does it work? Simple. The president gives a thumbs up, the doc gets stacked, AutoPen goes to work, and then a final verification. W's Justice Department codified it. They said, yeah, AutoPen counts, but one catch. Quote, "We emphasize that we are not suggesting the president may delegate the decision to approve and sign a bill. Only that, having made this decision, he may direct a subordinate to affix the president's signature on the bill." The big question, did Biden direct someone to sign his name or not? Or did aides have free rein? Speaker Johnson says Biden was out of the loop.
Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order, 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed.
Even Biden's West Wing knew the AutoPen was the real chief. Two former White House sources said a top Biden aide may have gone rogue, using the AutoPen like it was their own magic wand. Crypto czar David Sachs says Pocahontas wielded the wand.
What the Biden administration was doing, and let's face it, it wasn't Biden. Elizabeth Warren controlled the AutoPen during that administration. She, for some reason, has this pathological hatred of the crypto community. She wants to drive this community offshore. She doesn't want it happening in the United States. That's the wrong policy for the United States.
If Biden didn't approve the use of the AutoPen for a certain order, then that's forgery. It's falsifying a federal document. That's a major felony. Also, if the president isn't competent to be president, then he's not competent to use the AutoPen. All the books, all the videos, all the chaos we saw for 4 years could be used as evidence to prove he wasn't competent. Investigators should be looking at emails from White House insiders discussing AutoPen protocol. A smoking gun document or a whistleblower could blow the whole thing wide open and invalidate pardons, executive orders, even legislation. Simone Sanders was there, but don't you dare ask her about a pen that ran the country.
I have to ask who's actually making the decisions. Who is actually running the country? Everybody wants to say Joe Biden wasn't running the country. I know for a fact he not only read his presidential daily brief, he was engaged in the meeting, he asked questions, and he gave directives. Donald Trump won't even bother to read the iPad.
Yeah, Simone knows better. No one thinks Trump needs a CAT scan. Biden's the one who got lost in a closet. Jake Tapper, he already confessed and cashed in on the truth. And since he did, CNN has to cover the AutoPen investigation, right? They better if he's talking like this.
But somebody asked me, I forget who it was, but somebody asked me, like, was there an effect when Fox News covered something about Biden that you would revulse from it? And actually, it was the exact opposite. I would be like, what is this? What is this point? What happened? What happened? What happened? I had the opposite effect, but I think you're right that is a phenomenon. Oh, Fox is covering it. It must be false. And that's not the case.
Yeah, no kidding. We don't write books to break news. That's why we have TV shows. We tell the truth right away. All these tell-alls aren't helping the media's credibility. They made it worse. Their ratings look like border crossings, way down. And now the knives are out. MSNBC wants to burn Tapper's book in a bonfire.
No huge banners on the cable news network that recently devoted itself to the issue of presidential mental acuity. That network did not dare devote itself to the mental acuity of Donald Trump. That network decided that the mental acuity of Joe Biden last year is a more important story now. No one at that network suggested that Joe Biden was ever incapable of doing the job of president. Their critique of Joe Biden is that he was incapable of delivering a sharp and polished television debate performance, which would have been true of every single president prior to John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
That's Lawrence O'Donnell. The guy, he needed a vacation, remember, 50 days into Trump's term because he was exhausted. Maybe he should take a cognitive test. Hey, your rules, not mine. The machine's never been weaker. When there's fighting between MSNBC and CNN, we've divided and conquered. Joy Reid, she has her own war stories. She says Comcast tried to put parental controls on her phone.
Once I got to, NBC, and I too joined Twitter back in 2000. I think I joined in 08 or 09, and the bosses were horrified. And anytime I would tweet anything, I would get calls. I would get, please get off Twitter. We hate it. They don't like that it pulls their talent and their reporters out of their control, because now you're not running what you're tweeting through standards and practices. It's giving your personality directly to the audience, which they don't like because it's no longer managed and curated by them. And they don't want people breaking news.
Comcast wasn't worried Joy was going to break news. They were worried she was going to blame the Jews. If Democrats were smart, they'd treat their machine like a Tesla and firebomb it and build back better. It's the only way to cure TDS.
There's a divide between what I would say two teams in the Democratic Party. There's team restraint and team resistance, right? There are those in team resistance who feel like we should react hysterically to everything that Donald Trump says or does. And then there are those who feel like we should pick and choose our battles and be strategic. But I worry that the momentum is on the side of hysterical, hyperbolic resistance, and the enormous expenditure of time and energy and resistance might crowd out the restructuring and moderation that needs to happen within the Democratic Party.
Good luck. Nobody believes a Democrat anymore. Half the party just confessed to the crime of the century, and the other half's having margaritas with MS-13. When you're hooked on TDS harder than Irish Rosie on Xanax, an AutoPen investigation is not what the doctor ordered. They're going to need a united front once the subpoenas start flying.
Wow, guys, I'm telling you, if you believe, guys, that the American people deserve answers, no one is above the law. Do me a big favor, guys, hit that thumbs up like button right now so that this video can reach more people. Now, let's talk about what's really going on here. Former President Joe Biden is under investigation not just for bad policy, not just for poor leadership, but for potentially not even being aware of what he was signing, or rather what was being signed for him. Jesse Watters said it best. The AutoPen, the machine used to copy a signature, might have been the one truly running the White House. And guys, this isn't satire. This is reality. Documents, presidential pardons, executive orders, massive decisions were allegedly signed with the exact same neat robotic signature every time for 4 years, guys. Now, let me ask you this. If a man can't remember signing an executive order that paused natural gas exports, if he genuinely argues with lawmakers about orders that he was supposed to give, was he ever in control? The Heritage Foundation did a full audit. They lined up. Dude, was that not incredible when they lined all those up, guys? They lined up Biden signatures across thousands of documents, identical, not just consistent, mechanical. Guys, this isn't about a pen. This is about who gave it permission. Because unless Biden personally directed that signature to be applied, it is forgery. It's falsifying federal documents. Guys, this isn't just a scandal anymore. This is now a full-fledged felony. And let's take this a little bit further. If staffers were going rogue, using the AutoPen like it was some magic wand, and if Biden was checked out the whole time, every pardon, every executive order, every piece of legislation signed with that pen could be invalidated. I want you to just think about this for a second, guys, that the same people that are getting pardoned by Joe Biden could have been the people that were signing their own pardons. Guys, this is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Now, we could be staring down the barrel of a constitutional crisis here. Not just about who signed what, but about whether we had a functioning president at all from the years 2021 to 2025. And here's where it gets even darker. There are reports that Elizabeth Warren was influencing policy directly, especially with crypto, possibly using this setup to drive her own agenda. Guys, I'm telling you, the deeper you dig, the more it looks like the White House wasn't being led, it was being controlled. So I'm going to ask you guys, if Joe Biden wasn't the one giving the orders, if aides were signing in his name without his awareness, then who was really running the country? Guys, I wish this was a joke. This isn't a joke. This isn't hyperbole. This is the kind of scandal that shakes a republic. And if the DOJ does its job, and if a whistleblower comes forward, this whole thing could blow wide open. And let me be crystal clear, guys. If this had happened under Trump, the media would be screaming for impeachment and prison time. But right now, essentially silence. That's why, guys, we have to talk about it. Now, it's your turn. Do me a big favor. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below, guys. Subscribe for more unapologetic conservative commentary that tells the truth no matter who it offends. And if you want to support this channel, guys, and help us keep growing strong, consider becoming a channel member. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Nolan Alders. I'll see you in the next one.